The student finds no means of involvement for himself and cannot discover how the educational scheme relates to his mythic world of electronically processed data and experience that his clear and direct responses report. It is a matter of the greatest urgency that our educational institutions realize that we now have a civil war amongst these environments created by media other than the printed word. The classroom is now in a vital struggle for survival with the immensely persuasive outside world created by new informational media. Education must shift from instruction, from the imposing of stencils, to discovery, the probing and exploration, and the recognition of the language of forms. The young people today reject goals. They want roles. That is, total involvement. They do not want fragmented, specialized goals or jobs. We now experience simultaneously the dropout and the teach in. The two forms are correlative. They belong together. The teach in represents an attempt to shift education from instruction to discovery, from brainwashing students to brainwashing instructors. It is a big, dramatic reversal. Vietnam, as in the context of the teach in, is a very small and perhaps misleading red herring. It really has little to do with the teach in as such any more than with the dropout. The dropout represents a rejection of 19th century technology as manifested in our educational establishments. The teach in represents a creative effort switching to the educational process from package to discovery. As the audience becomes a participant in the total electronic drama, the classroom can become a scene which, with the audience, performs an enormous amount of work. And then he totally drifts off into a series of photos. Oh, hello. I didn't see you guys there. Welcome to Bitcoin Talk Show. Just reading a little bit of The Medium is the Massage, of course, by Marshall McLuhan and Quentin Fiore. A new cover by Shepard Ferry, sorry. Ooh, remind you of something? Somebody's brother. Somebody's big brother. Maybe somebody's smaller brother, but most likely somebody's big brother. But let's get started today on Bitcoin Talk Show. Today is Saturday, August 25th, 2018. My name is Thomas Hunt, and here's what's happening today in Bitcoin. The price of Bitcoin was up 0.37% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 6,721, a high of 6,792, and a low of 6,525. That's $1 for 14,886 Satoshis. What is that? We're on the other side of the 15,000 Satoshi barrier. As you know, according to the charts, if we break the 15,000 Satoshi barrier, it increases our chances of breaking the 10,000 Satoshi barrier. One time, we even almost broke the 5,000 Satoshi barrier. Let's spin the wheel. Here are the top 10 altcoins by volume against the price of Bitcoin. Ethereum down 1% against Bitcoin. Bitcoin Cash down 0.5% against Bitcoin. EOS down almost 0.75%. Dash out down 1.25%. Litecoin down 0.25%. Ripple down 0.5%. Ethereum Classic down 0.25%. Zcash down 1.25%. And Qtum rounding out the top 10 down 0.5% against Bitcoin. The top 5 distributed applications. It's still IDEX and Fork Delta, the two exchanges, the only ones with more than 1,000 daily active users. FOMO 3D, Ethereum, and CryptoKitty sneaking into the top 5 with 400, 500, and 800 respectively in reverse. POW H3D falls to 6th place, and Bancor falls to 7th. Augur, never even seen in the top 10. Blocktivity, let's check the most active blockchains. It's still EOS, Steam, and BitShares, followed by Ethereum, still uncleared, 53,763 transactions, while Bitcoin seems to be about half full, with 46% of the blocks in use. As always, you can support the World Crypto Network. No one seems to do this when the price is down, but you could be the one. Send us a little bit of Bitcoin donation right here or one of the crazy altcoins. Show your support for which altcoin is the best by voting with your money. That's right. You give them up to say you like them. Or you can support us at patreon.com/WCN, where 32 patrons are giving us $239 a month to support the show. Over at the Mad Bitcoins Patreon, we seem to have less patrons but more donations. We have 79 patrons, and we've earned $484 a month. So almost $600 a month for this show. Also, I can proudly report our Tallycoin fundraiser still has not moved. We are still frozen at 0.052553. Will we ever change that number? But I can report we have moved against the US dollar. We used to be 0.03 of our goal towards $1 million to spread the word about Bitcoin. Now we're 0.04% towards our goal. The World Crypto Network has 60,850 subscribers. We're still fighting to get over that 61,000 barrier. It seems almost unstoppable. You can help by subscribing down below and giving us a thumbs up and a share. Be sure to click that bell for notifications. Now let's find out what happened yesterday on the World Crypto Network. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shows on World Crypto Friday. We had Andy Hoffman with special guest Ken Bozak. Check out Andy's interview right here. We also had the Friday morning Bitcoin talk show with your calls and the chat. Then we had Max Hillebrand with the deflationary effects of Bitcoin with Murad. And Bitcoin 2049 with Shem Boo Spain and Angry Dentist. And special guest Caitlin Long. Followed by the Bitcoin Group with Blake Anderson, Shinobi, and Max Hillebrand. That's right. We had it all right here on the World Crypto Network. And of course, we're going to check out yesterday's comments. Yesterday's comments. We earned 93 likes, a little down, up to 94 right now. We had 6 dislikes. Woo! Go dislike crew. We had 712 views, a little low for Bitcoin Talk Show, but we were broadcasting so many shows at the same time. It just means a feast for the podcast users. Remember, you can subscribe to the World Crypto Network audio podcast and listen to the shows later. Maybe you like to listen to the shows while you're doing something else. Maybe you like to listen to the shows at 2x speed, and I'm talking incredibly fast right now. I've heard of that. But yes, you can do it all at the World Crypto Network audio podcast. Let's see what you had to say about the show. B. L. Dwyan has a story. Let's read it. Here we go. An anthropologist proposed a game to some African tribal children. He placed a basket of sweets near a tree and made the children stand 100 meters away. Then they announced that whoever reached the basket first would get all the sweets in the basket. When he said, "Ready, steady, go," you know what these children did? They all held each other's hands, ran towards the tree, divided the sweets equally among themselves, and enjoyed it. When the anthropologist asked them why they did so, they answered Ubuntu, which meant, how can one be happy when others are sad? Ubuntu in their language means, I am because you are. A strong message for all generations. There is much to learn. And Lena agrees to disagree with Max. She says, come on now, Max. You said criminals were the first to wear shoes. Criminals invented the lute and the car and the wheel. Well, the car one's pretty good on the NASCAR example. That lined up pretty good. I'm not so sure about the shoes and so forth. But again, he's just saying in general that I think what we're saying in general is that criminals are looking for the edges, right? They're looking for the corners of societies. They're looking for the loopholes. So if wearing shoes that made you faster made it easier for me to grab your purse and run away, that's the edge that I needed, right? It's a simple crime. It's not complicated like stock swindling or something like that. but you can see how you'd look for that advantage. You're looking for that edge. So right now, criminals are using Bitcoin. If you do ransomware, if that's your game, you lock up someone's computer, you get them to send you Bitcoin, you win money because Bitcoin is only sent one way. In this way, you're taking advantage of the new edge of Bitcoin to get one over on the people you're trying to scam. Max, why Germany don't have any Bitcoin ATMs? I don't know. The Bitcoin ATMs might be illegal in Germany because of the way their laws are. We also had some comments about Max and the capital gains tax. I don't think that Bitcoin is taxed on capital gains in Europe. They were saying in the chat, of course, in the United States, allegedly, according to the IRS, Bitcoin is a commodity, like frozen orange juice or cattle futures or whatever. It's a commodity. Uh-huh. And because of that, they want you to have a tax form every time you buy or sell Bitcoin. And using it as a currency, as Max said he did yesterday, in the United States might be a taxable event. So you need to seek a tax professional and do your best to give the IRS what they want. But they need to change their law, really, as a matter of policy. And they need to recognize that the Bitcoin is a currency. It's from the internet is not a country, but it is a place. It's a thing. And the internet has the rights, and the internet has the rights to its own currency. So that's what they need to do, but we're not there yet. Roy disagrees with us, and I'm completely shocked. He includes a timestamp. Thank you, Roy. Always good to include a timestamp. And he says, I hate to disagree with you guys and most everyone else about Tarantino's stuff. I always feel like he is taking me and his audience in general for complete idiots, that he is laughing at us. The content itself doesn't offend me, just his intent and motivation as I perceive it. And now take the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's true art. And I can kind of agree with what he's saying here, especially in later films like Hateful Eight. I like Hateful Eight. I think it's a small play. The way that it has all the characters in one room, and the drama slowly escalates. But there are a couple of scenes there, especially with Samuel L. Jackson, where he's just telling stories to kind of mess with people and to mess with the audience. And it's such a tight period piece that kind of breaks the story for me. The same thing in Inglorious Bastards. At the end, there's an attack on, Adolf Hitler and so on and so forth. And it just kind of breaks with the history. And at that point, I'm not sure why they went to all the trouble to have the accurate uniforms and all the history and everything, only to break with it. But again, that's his choice, and maybe that's how he's using the media and he's using the medium. Remember, he likes films like Guns of the Navarone, World War II pictures, cowboy westerns, spaghetti westerns. A lot of these influences thinking as well as those 70s type films. But no, I'm very much interested in Tarantino. Even if the audience here doesn't like the language, there's so much in the style and the stories that he tells. I really think you're missing out. Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, all the early ones, and again, certainly they're incredibly violent. You might not be able to take that. But at later points, the violence is more cartoony. Kill Bill is not a serious film, but it is a great revenge picture. Anyway, check out Tarantino. I haven't seen the Texas Chainsaw Massacre or the remake or the sequels. I'm not that into horror. I haven't seen that many horror films. Let's see. Excuse me. Steve Johnson writes, he says, why do people care about the tax return so much? Tech Baron responds, he says, Steve Johnson, because the government takes everything from you. Wouldn't you want some of it back? And it's funny, he's just responding generally. I think Steve was referring to the Trump tax returns. And I responded, I said, it seems like an easy way to get the data. Every other presidential candidate in recent history has released those. It's why people divest to avoid conflicts. None of this was done this time. And mainly, again, it's from a prosecutorial standpoint. I want them because you don't want to give them to me. The lady doth protest too much. The fact that you don't want to give them up means that I must have them. So I think that's why it's going to keep coming up. And again, Howard Stern famously refused to run for governor because he didn't want to give up his tax returns. Howard Stern, in the eyes of Trump, now becomes a very viable candidate for governor. He had a simple plan. He wanted road construction to be done at night. What else did he want? Dang it. It was mainly about highways. He wanted road construction done at night. Something else. He was going to legalize the death penalty. He might have changed his stance on that, but at the time, he felt the death penalty was more efficient and could really clear out the prisons. And again, he might have been shock jocking that as well, but as he's changed as time goes by. But he had a 2 or 3 point plan, and then he was going to resign and give the governorship over to some kind of responsible citizen to do the actual work. Uh, Seems kind of fair and reasonable now compared to the situation we're in. But again, Howard Stern refused to give up his tax returns and dropped out of the race. Just a reminder. And finally, one more comment from Ken. He includes a timestamp, always good. And he says, Max, don't you have capital gains where you live? Spending Bitcoin in the US is a terrible tax accounting nightmare. That's the store of value is the only reasonable use case for the US. Excellent comment, Ken. Thanks to everybody for taking part of yesterday's comments and supporting the show. Let's check out Twitter. Let's see what's going on in the last couple of days. I'm very interested in this new memoir written by Steve Jobs' daughter, Lisa Brennan Jobs. She's the one that Jobs kind of said wasn't his, and then he named the computer after her, but he didn't name the computer after her. And he was pretty cruel to her in most of the movie portrayals and in the couple of Steve Jobs biographies that I've read, or at least the Isaacson version. She retells some of the stories of her and Jobs, and she wants people to like him and her, but it doesn't quite work. People keep seeing through to Jobs, and he's kind of a monster. But at the same time, he has these exacting beliefs and he has these standards. And it seems that he's only trying to teach his daughter these standards. But when you tell someone a story like he's on his deathbed and she comes to see him and he tells her that her perfume smells bad, right? And it turns out her perfume had turned, right? And apparently it's some kind of natural perfume and it goes bad. And he was completely right and it was accurate. But still, that's the kind of person he was. He would tell you the truth to your face when he's dying. Should we like him for that? I don't know. I'm interested in Steve Jobs, so I definitely want to check out this book. It's called Small Fry. Small Fry. Let's see. Brian Armstrong can't say the word Bitcoin. He just deleted this tweet and changed it from Bitcoin to crypto. This is what's happening at Coinbase. They don't want to be associated with Bitcoin. It's very sad. Very sad. Let's see. New trailer for the new game Neon District. I like this part coming up. You can see has all the Bitcoin flag, and then there's this shop. Let's see. General store. No fiat accepted. Crypto only. Ooh. Seems like an interesting game, Neon District. Check it out at Neon District RPG on Twitter. Ryan Hoover says, what do you think we should change? What's the new cigarettes of our generation? People say phones and red meat. Maybe these are both bad and we don't know it this whole time. Ryan Hoover says, most healthy marketed foods like Jamba Juice. It's painful to see people gulp 500 calories of sugar thinking they're making a healthy choice. Ryan's totally right on this one. Let's see. Oh, we went live. A bunch of shows on the World Crypto Network. Look at that. Woo. So many shows, all live, overlapping. Tons of content for you to listen to this weekend. And it's going to roll out to be tons of content on the podcast. We say a sad farewell to Robin Leach, most famous for lifestyles of the rich and famous, champagne wishes and caviar dreams. And he was 77, just shy of his 77th birthday. And it's interesting because both him and Trump kind of defined the '80s for me. I was a kid watching TV, I would flip through the channels, and Trump is the kind of person you'd see on Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. And, now they have those shows, but they're not so extravagant about it. They're not so much bragging on the Wealth TV channel. On the Wealth TV channel, when they're showing you the show, "Let's buy a yacht," they're looking at 3 different yachts, and they're basically trying to influence the audience to make them think about buying a yacht. They're micro advertising. It's pretty impressive how much it's changed. But yes, him and Trump were all about flashing the wealth and showing off the lavish lifestyle and the amazing parties. Here we are at Mar-a-Lago. It's amazing. Fantastic views. A beautiful pool. Like he was just very over the top. Robin Leach. Rest in peace. The Oakland A's, they have changed. They used to be the money ball with fly ball hitters. Now they have they prize defense. They have fly balls and ace relievers. Go A's. It's unbelievable. I move away and they start winning. Interesting story on Twitter. Again, this is kind of absurd, and maybe this isn't real, but it doesn't look like Melania. I know it's kind of absurd, but if you just look at this woman, it seems like she's a body double, or maybe this is a security situation, something that we don't know about. We're gonna keep an eye on this story. I know seems kind of absurd, but she has kind of a different face, you know? So, if we look at this tweet right here, we can see the different face of today's Melania, versus normal Melania. They do have the same outfit, but they look like different people. So, that's happening. We had a poll about it. 80% of you, 147 people voted, saying that, yes, the president just used a body double to play his wife. And, we assume there's an Occam's razor, the normal situation here, some kind of a security situation, or, Melania couldn't be there or something. I don't know. It's very strange. Let's see. We've got a catch and kill contract. The doorman of Trump Tower says he had an affair with the ex-housekeeper who had a child. So there it is. Bingo, if you're keeping track at home. But that's again from the National Enquirer, who has now turned state's evidence against Trump. But we're getting way too political. I just tweeted it because it's important. But Richard Feynman says, by learning, you will teach, and by teaching, you will learn. And I think that ties in well to our opening quote this morning from The Medium is the Massage. Checking out Bitcoin, it's still around $6,706. Looks like CCN is publishing stories 1 hour ago, 3 hours ago, and 7 minutes ago. Way to go, CCN. Price recovery. Google searches for Bitcoin price sink to all-time 3-year low. And more stuff about Andreas saying Bitcoin ETFs are a terrible idea. Uh-huh. All right, let's see what else we got here. Bitcoin prices phased by latest ETF rejections. True. SEC wants a second look at the 9 Bitcoin ETFs. That's also true, and we discussed it on the Bitcoin group just yesterday. Andreas says they're terrible. Everyone likes quoting Andreas, making the news there. Let's see. Reddit co-founder, why I'm betting on Bitcoin despite its volatility. Bitcoin has some real traction to become a store of value. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Bitcoin mining could soon become a windy affair. There we go. Like I said, windmills, Scotland. Let's get out there. We don't need batteries anymore. You can build miners. You can have the windmills power miners. The miners make Bitcoin. You trade the Bitcoin for whatever you need. There it is. Ding, ding. And more about the price. More about the price. Let's see the stories we got. Reddit founder. It's Alexis Ohanian, the one who married Sabrina Williams. Had a baby. Very exciting stuff. Wow, 35. Amazing. He's into Bitcoin. Let's see what he says. Oh, he's an investor in Bitcoin and Coinbase. Very nice. He says, We're seeing it in countries like Turkey that are having significant economic crises, where people are losing faith in the Turkish lira. We're going to see money move over to Bitcoin because, as unstable as it is, it's actually a lot more stable for a lot of the people than their own nation's fiat currency. But right now, we're still in the earliest stages. I couldn't agree with him more. Great stuff. Bitcoin has some real traction to become a store of value. We just did the story. It's the same story. Bitcoin mining could soon become a windy affair. Ooh, wordplay. 5 points for Gryffindor. Could wind power the Bitcoin network? Yes. In Morocco? Okay. And creating a working concept? Yes. Miners facing tough times. Yes, it's getting so hard. It's getting even harder trying to feed and water your seed. Plus, teeter-totter caught up between being a father and a prima donna. Baby mama drama screaming. Only it's too much for me to want to stay in one spot. Another day of monotony's got me to the point I'm like in jail or shot until I formulate a plot. End up in jail or not. Success is my only option. Failure's not. And so on and so forth. But yes, it's so hard for the miners. Everyone, pour one out for the miners. Let's all have a pause. But let's hope they can use wind power and falling water power soon. And finally, something to really worry about. Google searches for Bitcoin price sinks to a 3-year low. That is not good. The market slump effect on Google searches. Google Trends describes itself as a public web facility that gives users insight into the frequency of specific search terms relative to the total. Yeah, we know how Google Trends works. Okay, yeah, Bitcoin over time, price goes up, people get interested. Price goes down, people get not interested. Still, look how much higher we are from back here. See the way that it's kind of floating off the ground there? It never floats before this point right here. So, still in a good place. Actually, it's shocking how well this lines up with our charts here on the World Crypto Network. As you know, when people search for Bitcoin, sometimes they find our videos, and that's good for us. People watch them and they comment. Sometimes they subscribe and they stick around. That's pretty much our business. And yeah, it's not good when they stop searching for Bitcoin because they stop finding us and they stop liking and subscribing and sticking around. So it is interesting to see that as the price goes down. But this is Bitcoin Talk Show, and that means you get to call in. We're opening up the phone lines right now. Skype was echoing yesterday, so we'll give the phone lines the first part of the show. If people don't call in on the phone lines, we'll open up the Skype lines. Remember, even if you're outside of the country, you can try getting a Gmail account, and you can always call us at our phone number, which is 1-518-600-1949. Call now and tell us your thoughts about Bitcoin. It's Saturday. Want to try to keep it kind of light, trying to avoid the Bitcoin price. But if that's what you want to talk about, that's great. Otherwise, we can talk about technology or television or anything that's going on. I just finished watching the show Deadbeat on Hulu. It was very strange in the beginning and it got very strange in the end. Why do you call this? Okay, so here's a guy in the chat. And again, all he has to do is pick up the phone call. Oh, cool. He's repeating himself. So he's toast. He's yelling in all capital letters. Why do you call this Bitcoin talk show when you talk about everything but Bitcoin? That's what the word Bitcoin means. Bitcoin is about everything. And I do talk about Bitcoin. I just talked about the Bitcoin news for like 15 minutes straight. And now it's time to talk about other things. Oh, look, I don't even have the power in this account. Oh, here, over here, I have the power. Here it is. Well, first, we'll give him a timeout. Then he'll come back and he'll yell again about how he had a timeout, and then we'll ban him. So, oh well for that. But I am talking about Bitcoin, and I'm talking about everything else that's going on in the world because that's what this show is about. So yeah, I watched the show Deadbeat. It's about a medium, a person who can see ghosts, except he's kind of a stoner and he doesn't care. So there you go. Interesting show. It was on Hulu. And then I watched this other show, Future Man, on Hulu that I think is excellent. You guys need to check out Future Man. And here it is. We've got a call already. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, Thomas. This is Russell from Missouri. I'm actually in Tennessee right now, though.
Tennessee. That's very cool. What's on your mind today about Bitcoin, Russell?
Well, I was just listening to you, and I listened to you the last couple of days, and I wanted to call in but didn't get to. And I was thinking about the what you when you were talking about how the world works, I guess, and things like that. And I'm kind of in the thought that we're hopefully as human beings we are trying to better ourselves at all times, and so and it's a hard proposition to do. So I do think that we, for the most part, do improve as a species, but as as we have maybe despots come along and cause a whole country to go down in a spiral or whatever, you have big setbacks. And so the improvement of the human condition, if you will, is a slow, hard fight. And hopefully it continues going towards the better. That's the way I've seen the world. And, although sometimes you think about the destructive power that we've actually created, and it makes you think, well, we got the smartest people sometimes working on the stupidest things, like, Einstein and Oppenheimer and all those people who helped create the atom bomb and all that crap. But then you've also got people who are working on just the existential aspects of our lives and trying to better that and help that along. So it's a very, I guess you could say, if you could take popcorn and sit back and watch the world as it evolves, it's very fun and interesting to watch that happen.
Well, I think it is, and oh well, my VPN's on. But yeah, definitely I want to agree with you. I listened to Neil deGrasse Tyson on Joe Rogan, and I'm still kind of halfway through it. And they were talking about the concept that when people get out of college, or even when they just get out of school, that they think they're done with learning. And there's this, oh, I graduated, I don't need my books anymore, and oh, I'm not reading anymore because I graduated, or even just normal school, you just decide you're not going to learn anymore. And that we need the opposite of this. We need people to be lifelong learners and people that are always curious in new things. And that maybe we've lost some of that lately. But I agree with you also. It seems like it is disappointing how slow the progress is sometimes and how fast the progress is in other directions. We've seen in the last like 5 years, the last 10 years, the iPhone go from something that only the geeks have to something that everyone has. And we didn't think about that very much. And now things have changed. And other things with Facebook and these social networks, we've made all these networks. We don't even know what they're for. And now everyone's addicted to them and we don't know what to do. And these things are changing our society. And it's especially frustrating. I know the government gets political right away, but we have so many experts outside of government with good advice. We can't seem to get this advice inside of the government. No matter which side seems to be running it, whether they're listening to experts or not, we can't seem to get these good plans converted into reality. Sometimes we do, sometimes they work, sometimes they have unintended consequences. But I do hope we're getting better. But I agree with you. We also go dark sometimes. Sometimes something breaks and we go into a dark period. And, you can't change it as an individual. Like, maybe we can change it together. We can talk about it. We can see where it's going. But yeah, are we in the decline or the ascent of a civilization? Are things in the White House completely echoing Nixon and the Watergate? I don't know, but it sure seems like it. What do you think, Carl?
Here's one thought that I just had as you're talking. he said that, some of us think that we can't change it as an individual, but if we keep thinking that, we won't change anything. But if we all just, okay, here's where I'm at. What can I do to help? Okay, maybe it's I just find the right cause that is actually out there, boots on the ground, hands to people, whatever it's taking to help somebody in a group of people in Venezuela or in Greece or wherever they're having those monetary issues. So we do have. I mean, I heard one podcast talking about the problems that Dash is having, but I also heard somebody else talking about where Dash is out in Venezuela, actually helping people start use the blockchain and help possibly preserve some of their wealth and then be able to keep that wealth. So there's, you don't always want to look at one side of the story, but you also don't want to think that there's nothing that I as an individual can do. If I can help just one person, I heard a story the other day about a policeman who was shaving a man at a gas station, and so this lady wanted to find out about it, so she went and talked to the policeman, and he said that he had been in McDonald's and he heard that the boss tell this homeless person, "Hey, you can have the job, but you cannot start working until you shave." And so the guy walked out dejected, thinking, "Oh man, I went out and got a job. Now I got to shave and all this stuff." So the cop heard this. He went over to the gas station, convenience store gas station, bought a razor, went up to the guy, and he ended up shaving the guy. He went back to McDonald's and got his job. So, granted, that's not a huge thing, but if all of us look to do little things, all of us doing little things actually makes the world a better place. If you can't do anything else, but as you're walking across the parking lot, pick up a few pieces of trash and put those in the trash receptacle. It's not a great big thing, but if we all start doing that, how much better will the world be? If we all would just take one, stoop down once or twice as we're walking across the parking lot, pick up a little trash, how much better will the world be just because we start doing that? And so we all, even though we might think that we can't change the world, no, but we can change where we're at right now, and that changes the world.
I definitely agree with you, James. A lot of good stuff there. Certainly picking up litter, the small stuff helps a lot. You know about that broken window theory that they tried in New York City, where they said, well, if there's a broken window, someone's more likely to vandalize. And if there's vandalism, someone's more likely to rob from someone. And all those ideas, when you see something falling out of control, it tends towards falling out of more control, right? The entropy thing. But yeah, picking up litter is a great way to improve your community. I also like what you said about saying what you want, what you need. If we're just honest about our sources and what we need, like that guy needed to shave to get his job, and that the officer was able to help him with that. We need to do those small things. I had a story in my own life recently. I screwed up pretty bad. I didn't pay a bill for several months. It was a very important bill, and they were going to cancel a very important service to me, and it was going to be tough for me to get it back. So I was pretty stressed on the help phone line, but I told them what I need. I told them I'd screwed up. I even apologized. I know I'm dealing with a massive bureaucracy and they have rules, and certainly someone not paying their bill for 3 months is more than enough reason to kick them off, even though I thought I had auto pay going. Still, more than enough reason. Because I think I honestly told them my situation, they helped me and I got my service back, and it's all good. Everything is fine. But still, I'm going to double check auto pay from now on. Be very careful. Make sure your bills are being paid when you try this auto pay garbage. But still, I think I got there because I was truthful and honest, and because someone out there, someone helped me, in that bureaucracy. Whereas if I was just super mad and everything, I don't think I would have gotten anywhere. So
I agree 100%. And that with that, I used to work for a large company. I'm not going to name them. I worked in customer service, and I would get somebody calling in, and they're all mad and everything like that. And I used to hook in, although they gave me some training to learn not to hook myself in, to understand their emotion, whatever. And you try to talk them down from that huge emotional state. Because if they're yelling at you and telling you how pissed off they are, blah, 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 it's like, okay, I understand that you're mad, but I can't help you if I don't understand what the situation is. So I need you to, you're wanting to tell them, idiot, would you just shut up? Don't be mad at me because I'm not the problem. Tell me what the issue is, and I can help fix that issue. But if you don't tell me what the issue is, you just tell me how pissed off I am, how stupid my company is, how stupid I am, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And there's not much I can do for you because all I know is that I'm stupid. Obviously I'm too stupid to be able to help you because I can't read your mind. So I'm not quite there yet. Haven't evolved to that point yet. I'm not I don't know who was it that I can't think of who it was on the Starship that could kind of read people's minds and stuff. Counselor Troy, I think it was. But anyways, yeah, and that went off into a total different area that I thought I'd go. But still, that's exactly, you got what you needed because you calmly, first off, accepted responsibility. Hey, it's my fault. I set up auto pay, but obviously I didn't set up auto pay. You told them that. You said, I am the screw up here.
Mm-hmm.
You guys didn't do anything wrong. I did. Can you help me? Because this is important to me. This is something that I need. When you take that attitude, not only does it not piss you off, you're not pissed, and another person on the phone's not pissed, and then they have to get 3 or 4 other people involved and name calling and all that crap that's going on. But you're actually able to communicate and get the help that you needed. That's exactly why you got me.
Oh, and that's it. If I had been mad, I even did this thing at the end where I was like, is there anything else I can do? And normally I wouldn't say that because it's kind of a desperate thing and I try to project strength and I'm in command and control of things and I'm responsible most of the time. But clearly I screwed up on this one. I look like a deadbeat. They cut me off because I look like a deadbeat. 100% right on their side. Like nothing went wrong. I just want to fix it. And because I had that attitude of let's fix this thing, I got through and I got my service reactivated. As you saw the letter they sent me, it looked like death. It looked really bad. And I worked very hard to get this service activated and it's expensive and everything. But yeah, you gotta pay your bill. And you gotta double check that auto pay. But yeah, you get more flies with honey. And I think we can think about this for a lot of things. Being nice to people, putting out the extra effort. I know Burning Man is going on right about now. I think it's starting up. And one thing about Burning Man is you know that everyone out there has made the choice to be out there and that they've all brought a lot of gear with them and put a lot of thought into it. And they also have to survive. So if you meet someone out at Burning Man, you assume the best of them. You're like, I'll loan you water. I'll give you a drink. I'll give you food. We're on the same team out here. And I think we just need that in the normal world. We have a thing out there called MOOP, matter out of place. And we pick up everything that doesn't belong. Anything that's human made, that's waste, even if it's not yours, you pick it up. And I agree with Russell that we should try to do that on the street. If you see only a couple of cans and you pick them up, the whole street looks nice because you picked up those couple of cans. Whereas the other way, if you leave them out there, somebody's going to come along and break a bottle. Somebody's going to come along and cut themselves. I mean, things are going to happen. I think we can do good things. So thanks so much, Russell, for the call.
Oh, I heard a cool concept the other day, and I actually happened to subscribe to it. They're talking about the petrol. And whether you believe in it or not, you know what? That's a trend that's going to probably start happening more and more. So I just want to look at that and watch it because it's a case study into that type of of situation of a government or a city state or a country or whatever deciding to create a cryptocurrency. Whether you believe it's a cryptocurrency or not, whether you believe it's a scam or whatever, that's irrelevant. The fact of it is I believe that there's going to be more and more, whether it be a government, a business, whatever, centralized entities that will be wanting to get in on this train, and they're going to decide, you know what, instead of hooking up with Ethereum or hooking up with Bitcoin or whatever, I'm going to go ahead and create my own. That'll be interesting to watch that dichotomy, how that helps, if it actually helps Venezuela, if it helps those people, if it just allows for more graft. We don't know how it's going to end up. We don't know how the petro is going to look in exist. So it's really kind of interesting and fun and kind of a social experiment to watch that. So, you know, a lot of people talk bad about it and say it shouldn't be allowed to happen, blah, 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 whatever. Okay, that's maybe, you know, USA-eccentric ideology. But just because Donald Trump said that, you know, no U.S. citizen can you know, be involved in that, doesn't mean we can't watch it and see what happens and learn from it and find out, okay, in some cases, a central currency might be the right way to help free those people if it actually works for Venezuela and helps free those people out. I'm all for that because I want to help these people. The people are hurting, and if that actually does help them and allow them to get away from the graft of how the government's been acting, you know, that's just, you know, I don't know how it's going to turn out. I don't know what, you know, safeties they put in that, but it's just a interesting case study to watch this, and I want to hear more news about it, hear more case studies of what's happening with it and how it's going and things like that.
Well, I'm definitely interested in the idea, but they don't call me a Bitcoin maximalist because I'm not a Bitcoin maximalist. So whenever anyone prints their own money, I always wonder what they're doing with the pre-mine and with the reward and with everything else that they've set up. So unfortunately, the path I see for this is I agree with you. Everyone prints their own money. The governments do it, the corporations do it, the individual human beings do it, and they find out it's very difficult to actually give money value. I can tell you that Tom coins are awesome, but you're not going to hold your salary in Tom coins unless a lot of other people agree to. And yeah, there's going to be spikes and there's going to be successes, but if you look at them on a long enough timeline, they're going to look like pump and dumps, just very, very slow pump and dumps. So once everyone's done that, I think they'll come back to Bitcoin and they'll say, wow, you know, I really couldn't trust the Petro coin because the government set it up, and I couldn't trust Amazon coin because Amazon set it up, and I couldn't trust this or that. But when it comes back to Bitcoin, the way it's run, the way it's set up, the way it was created, the way it has no creator, it's the one you can trust. So I think all these other ones certainly exist, but there's this universal backbone of Bitcoin that everyone leaves and comes back
I
to.
agree with you to about, I'm about 87 to 90% vested in Bitcoin. So I agree with you 100% there. I'm a maximalist. I believe Bitcoin is the main coin, but I'm just saying it's you know, eventually are we going to get to, and I mean, I've heard some talks by Antonopoulos or some people talking about how cryptocurrency, blockchain can lead us to utopia or to Star Trek, the Federation, things like that, where we have replicators and et cetera, that this can all lead to that. And I'd love to see that was part of the catalyst that brings us there. But I mean, that's technology way, way beyond what I understand. But still, it's just interesting to see which, you know, I also believe that there's going, yes, I am a Bitcoin maximalist, but I also don't believe Bitcoin is going to be the only one left at the end. I think there's going to be other use cases for cryptocurrencies and things that that other companies or other entities will actually fulfill. So while I am pretty much a maximalist, I also don't subscribe to the fact that I think Bitcoin is going to be the only. I may be wrong. I may be 100% wrong. I may be right. Who knows? But it's fun watching it, and I'm glad I'm part of it.
We will have to see how it goes. I'm not sure if it's going to be a utopia or a dystopia, but I think it's going to be different. The kind of thing where right now you can just print money and buy weapons. You can just print money and do disaster relief. Those things are going to go away. If you actually want to buy something, you actually have to pay for it. That's going to be totally different. That's really strange to governments and to the world. So we'll have to see how that goes. And I think Star Trek should be a goal, but I'm not so sure that we're there yet. So
yeah, I agree. I agree. But anyways, again, like I always say whenever I sign off here, thanks for all that you do. You do a lot for the community. You guys have opened my eyes to a lot of things. I like the fact that you get differing views and get to discuss that in your different forums. That's good because Max might think a little bit differently than you do, or Giacomo might feel differently than Tone does, or whatever. But it's all different views that we get to think about and help us, decide what side we're on, or if we don't believe in being on sides, but what path we want to go, so that we can hopefully find ourselves in the best future. But thanks again, and you have a great day.
thanks so much, Russell, for your call. And that's definitely the goal, is to have many voices and many different ideas here. So you can give us a call now at 518-600-1949. We're going to keep the phone line open for a little bit longer. We got a late start this morning. Just kind of ran behind on everything. Walked the dog late, ate the breakfast late, started the show late. So it goes. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, Thomas. Jeff from Ohio.
How's it going, Jeff?
Very well, thank you. I do like Skype. Skype works. I don't know why we're not using Skype anymore, but
More people say they can call in on the phone lines. So I think that's it. But what's on your mind about Bitcoin today, Jeff?
just a few things. I would invest in Thomas Coin.
Hey, there we go. We got one hodler already.
The person I would trust to not inflate your coin, and in the entire world, you.
Oh, definitely. But I would hold $1 million or so in reserve, something like that. I'd have to have some very large personal holdings of Thomas Coin.
I mean, just imagine the fortitude that Satoshi had to get Bitcoin off the ground, and the principled thinking that he had. It's just amazing. I was thinking about the term fiat. You know what fiat means in Latin, don't you?
It means let it be done.
Let it be. Let it be. So fiat is the government or an authoritative body telling the people that let this be money. We don't care what you think is money. We are going to tell you what money is. And it just goes against human nature, right? So these little pieces of paper with ink on them that they print as fast as they can print them. And again, I don't hold that against government officials. They're doing what humans are incentivized to do, right? Mm-hmm. They're incentivized to make themselves look good, incentivized to make their constituents happy, but it isn't good money. I called yesterday. I listened to the show yesterday of Shambu, Spain. What a good show that was. I don't know if you've had a chance to listen to it yet.
No, I haven't checked it out, but I saw they had Caitlin Long as a guest. That looked really good. Yeah. I heard she was on Trace Mayer's show as well, and she did really well there. Trace Mayer, sorry.
Yeah, so the discussion was around rehypothecation, which I didn't learn about till recently. I mean, I'd heard the term, but it's basically where, we've got 21 million Bitcoin or whatever the supply is now, but soon to be 21 million here in the future. And rehypothecation is where the market is actually trading maybe 80 million Bitcoin because they're not accounted for. So these brokers, the exchanges can actually be selling Bitcoin that are not on a one-to-one basis, right? So there may be, based on the actual supply, there probably is more demand than there is supply, but because of this rehypothecation theory, and we don't know if there's fractional reserve going on in some of these exchanges, there's an ability to push a price down when, in fact, and Wall Street does this all the time. Caitlin made it very clear. She said, this is what Wall Street does. And the Angry Dentist had a lot of good thoughts that he put into this as well. It was a very interesting show. But I think the consensus was, at least with Shambuth and the Angry Dentist, is Wall Street, we're going to demand that public addresses be provided so that people can see that a fractional reserve isn't being run. And that got me to thinking, well, why aren't we doing that now with the existing exchanges? Why aren't we forcing some of these exchanges to be more open with, obviously, we're not going to ask for their private keys, but when we transfer money into their account, we should see the public keys that represent that Bitcoin. I don't know how difficult that would be. I don't know that any exchanges even offer that now. I use Kraken. To be honest with you, I know I transferred into an address there, but I'm presuming that's a pooled address.
Yeah, they definitely, if you look at the exchanges, anytime you send them money, they take it into one account. As soon as they get it, they immediately move it to another account. So it does move around quite a lot. There was that idea back in the day about having provable exchanges where you could actually see how much they had. And I think it was Kraken that actually said they were working on it and developing it. I do think there is a potential security problem. So if you show someone your public address where you're keeping all of your keys and you're sending money into there, that does expose some of how your system works. So if you're exposing where your cold storage is, something like that. But it would be absolutely provable. Like you say, if the exchange says they have 100 Bitcoin and they have 100 Bitcoin in their cold storage, we know 100% that they are accurate. We don't have to trust anyone else. Any other system would involve someone like going into the exchange like Roger Ver did with Mt. Gox. He went in and he said everything was fine and that he checked on it, and then everyone found out that everything was not fine. So yeah, I agree. It would be ideal if they would do that, but if we can't even get the existing exchanges to do it, it's going to be even harder with the Wall Street exchanges. And I didn't know they had a word for this, rehypothecation, but I definitely heard of the idea, and it's how the banks create money. But it's very interesting to have a company that could sell you, say, 5 shares of Apple stock and then not have the Apple stock. That seems very dishonest on the face of it. But I guess that's how Wall Street works.
Yeah, exactly. And Trace has talked about the Dole Foods case where Dole Foods, I don't know whether it was a private buyout, and all of a sudden, they only had 100, I'm using an example here, 100 million shares that were authorized. And all of a sudden, there's 120 million shares being turned in. There were more sold than actually existed. And this happens, I think it happens all the time in Wall Street. And unless we can take advantage of this public ledger, I think it's going to happen here too. So we've got to be proactive and find a way to force this public accountability on the exchanges, My thinking was similar to yours. You mentioned many times we need to get, the Trojan horse behind the walls, and that Bitcoin would take care of itself because of the ability to utilize. I think once Wall Street gets in, people are buying it in their private accounts. They're going to start researching it a little more, and they're going to understand the ability to take possession of it. And that's to me, that's one of its fantastic features. It obviously takes a little work in terms of security. And I think the more and more people do that, the less tradable supply there is, which, again, I don't like talking about price all the time. Price is going to end up taking care of itself, but it will put upward pressure on the price unless there is this rehypothecation issue out there, which there will be unless we somehow as a community force the players, the exchanges, to make it known that it's not happening.
I definitely agree with you, Jeff. This is a real threat. And it's interesting to see Andreas Antonopoulos fighting against the ETFs, although I think for a slightly less convincing reason. Andreas is talking about how it's important for the users to hold their keys. I think it's more important, like you're saying, for the institutions to actually hold your keys. If you're going to sell 100 Bitcoin, it's important that you actually have 100 and that you're not selling 1,000 when you have 100, things like this. It is a real threat to Bitcoin. It could make the system unequal. If there was too many fake Bitcoins in one of these exchanges, the exchange would grow very large with money. But on the Bitcoin side, there'd actually be the coins. So it could, rock back and forth, destroy some of the Bitcoin price action, but it could also drive it up as they need to buy the Bitcoins to cover their bets. So we'll have to see how it turns out. But thanks so much for your call. Give us a call anytime.
All right, Thomas. Thank you.
All right. And you can call us now at 518 600 1949. We're going to keep the call lines open as long as we can. We started a little late today, but it is Saturday morning. I just want to remind everyone to give us a thumbs up and a share. We have 101 live viewers. I'll bet that means we have 101 thumbs up, right? It's funny. On YouTube, you end up with something like 60,000 subscribers, and then you get 100 viewers on a show. You're like, well, how does this work? And that's just how YouTube works. PewDiePie has 60 million subscribers, and he gets about 3 million a show. So it's interesting the way that it doesn't translate right. And part of that, I think, is because YouTube wants to show you things that are liked, things that they think you'll like. They're trying to do that algorithm thing to you. And if they just showed you your subscription feed, the things that you've actually told them that you like, you'd be bored, right? YouTube wants to impress you. They want to wow you. That's why it's such a strange service. Sometimes it'll show me nonstop David Letterman videos. Oh, you like David Letterman? You're gonna watch this, this, and this. Other times it's like nonstop TED videos. Other times it used to be nonstop Alex Jones videos, but maybe not so much anymore. But we're keeping it going here on Bitcoin Talk Show Saturday morning. We've got the phone lines open at 518 600 1949. We're going to talk to the chat. What's going on, chat? We're talking about breakfast. They say where they live, it's dinner time. Other people say it's tea time. They think that people should get those pot stocks. They say you're winning if you got pot stocks. Let's see. If you're making a donation, what will the funds be used for? Well, if you're going to donate $1 million, we're going to use it to rent a studio, pay people to work there, pay people to edit the show so we have clips, and that so we can utilize the archive and deliver that back to people so you can check it out. Advertising, salaries for people that talk on the air, people to run the advertising. We would try to run a convention and a conference and all those things. Or if you donate $10, we will use it to buy food. I don't know. How can you, again, the requirements to have a YouTube channel are very high. You have to fill out a lot of forms about what you're going to use all of the donations for. The anti-bureaucrats love bureaucracy. They're saying we should do a Hunter S. Thompson quote to lead off the show. I looked for some. I couldn't find the right one. I have all my books at home, so I don't really have my Hunter S. Thompson books here with me out in Vegas. And shout out, they like McLuhan. Apparently, he was before the University of Toronto went bad. Guest at Nur is keeping track of time for us. Excellent. And Moonshine Fuel is here for the modern day hippie stuff. Yeah, we've got it all. EOS Nights, apparently that's a game. I guess it has to do with EOS. People are listening to music in the background. It's a nice blend. Is it Steely Dan or Led Zeppelin? They say good morning. They want to donate EOS. Okay, we'll have to try to do that. But of course, you could always just convert the EOS into Bitcoin and send Bitcoin, or convert the EOS into Litecoin and send Litecoin, all those things. Matt Smith says, Ken Bozak has a dash and Decred tattoo on his forearms. I don't listen to idiots. It is unfortunate when you tattoo yourself, you are saying quite a lot about yourself, even if you don't want to say anything. And sometimes you say different things. Apparently, they had some sound problems over at Bitcoin 2045, but they had great content. So just got to get that sound evened out, get that fixed. Let's see. I'll have to explain to everyone why he lost money every time he wears a short sleeve shirt right now. And there it is. I'm glad I didn't get a Bitcoin tattoo. It would be embarrassing. Or another tattoo. Oh, he says he's playing Rush. Very cool. He's playing Rush. And I need to get a EOS wallet so I can accept EOS. I'll work on that. I'll talk to my brother. I think they have a special system for EOS. They have like addresses and stuff, so I can get a cool address. I can do that. Linux Ubuntu, indeed, that's what Ubuntu is named after, that word for working together that we talked about earlier on the show. Tarantino, here we go. Sheffield writes, he says, Tarantino is one of a small handful of directors whose movies I actively look forward to. I agree with that. And I definitely also agree with the idea of judging movies by directors. In books, I read authors. I'll go through and read, like I read all the Tom Clancy books. I read all the Ayn Rand books. I'll go through and read by author. With movies, I started out, you get all confused. You get into actors, right? And you're like, Nicolas Cage is so cool. I'm going to watch all his movies. And then, half of them are terrible. Things like that. The actors don't really control the movies. Then you get into directors and you're like, oh, I'm going to watch all of the Tarantino movies, all of the Wes Anderson movies, all of those kind of things, and the Stanley Kubrick movies, all that kind of thing. And it's just great. I love the Tarantino movies. There are a few I haven't seen. I need to go back and really watch them. I missed the Death Proof one he did with Robert Rodriguez, that series. But so good, so different. I mean, I like the old ones that are kind of 70s movies like Jackie Brown and Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs. But the new ones are fun too. And I'd be very interested to see him do a Star Trek movie. There was talks of him doing a dark, R-rated Star Trek movie, and it's more than just minor talks. It could be pretty good. So let's see. Oh, Victor's right. The history says just at Nur. That's why Tarantino evoked what happened in Inglourious Bastards. Yeah, it could be. Pirates is Silicon Valley. Pirates of Silicon Valley seems pretty good. People are streaming their carnivore dinner. Okay. Not sure about that. The man who made shallowness popular. I wonder if he's saying Tarantino there. He's saying that Tarantino made shallowness popular. Interesting. Oh, no, he's saying Robin Leach. Oh, we're talking about Robin Leach. Yeah, he's right. Robin Leach really did celebrate wealth and empty wealth, like looking at that pool and not doing anything, that kind of thing. Like, very strange. They say my Robin Leach impression was decent. That's good to know. Fabulous. I should go listen to him before I do it, really. It's good advice. The Williams sisters also played doubles. Okay. They're great tennis players. Some of the best I've ever seen. Incredibly strong. Tennis is a very difficult game. I read all about it in Infinite Jest. They talked about tennis. So let's see, where were we? The voices, yes. What do you think of Backed? Jose keeps asking me. I don't know why. I think Backed is fine. I think it's going to be an exchange that challenges Coinbase. It's the one that's owned by the NASDAQ or the NYSE, one of those people, like a big exchange owner. I'm impressed with the idea that they've been working on it for 14 months in secret. I think people aren't paying enough attention to that idea, and that they could have some good code and a good exchange that could just drop on us, right? It could just be like, oh, Backed is open, boom. So I'm interested in that. I also think if you start something 14 months ago, you probably started buying the Bitcoin then too. So if they're a bank and they dollar cost averaged, I already think they should have a significant amount of Bitcoin and be ready to be a custodian for those Bitcoin. So I disagree with people who think that, oh, Backed is buying now and, oh, Backed is moving the market. I think they would do it off the market over 6 months to 2 years, and I think they're pro. I think they're going to be hot. I think it's going to be hard for Coinbase to compete with them. So, and sadly, the way that Coinbase treats this community, I have to kind of applaud that, right? I have to kind of say, well, Coinbase, who doesn't really like Bitcoin anyway, could get beat by Backed. Let's see. There's an active question in the chat. Someone says, why did Ethereum Classic not moon when it was added to Coinbase? Almost nothing happened. Well, again, it's buy the rumor, sell the news. Ethereum Classic did go up when they said they were going to add it to Coinbase. Then it went up. When it actually got added, nothing happened. So it was the rumor that you needed to be on, but no one knows. Paul Burns says, guys, I'm in such a dilemma. Watch WCN live or watch Empire Strikes Back, which has just come on TV. He's seen it 50 times. It's a tough choice. It's a good movie. It's got the bounty hunters, all the lines, all the scenery. Such a great movie. Trying to think of it. Yes. I love those clips they've made of Star Wars, things like Darth Vader moving in and out of the asteroid field and like his little thing turning back and forth and him getting annoyed at it. I don't know. There's a lot of great stuff out there, but yeah, I don't know. It's tough not to go with Empire Strikes Back. It says Darth wins this one. And yeah, we can talk about anything here on Bitcoin Talk Show. We do try to talk about Bitcoin. If you want to call in at 518-600-1949, we'll talk about Bitcoin or answer any questions, but we also talk about other things. So I recommended Future Man and Deadbeat, good stuff on Hulu. These are Hulu only shows, but you can probably get them other places. But yeah, or you can just, pay $12 a month for Hulu. It's not that bad. I definitely agree with Jose. Neil deGrasse Tyson on Joe Rogan, another can't miss interview. And I think it's about 3 hours long. I'm probably going to listen to it most of today. Keep learning, keep teaching, keep using. That's what you got to do. Rolando Tech doesn't understand how I can use the iPhone. You got to understand at a certain point, you're tired of fixing computers. I don't want to fix my computer. So if your phone has a task manager, it's a deal breaker for me, right? Because I'm not interested in managing tasks. That's not my function anymore. I'm using the computer. So I'm a layer above fixing the computer. So no, I don't want to use Android. I'm not that into beta products. I'm not that into Windows, which has always been a beta product. I don't like it when it breaks and it's not my fault. I want it to run perfectly till it dies. And the iPhone does that. And the Mac does that. I can edit videos now and never have to reinstall drivers because of an update. The Mac handles that. So I'm paying for convenience so I can compute at a higher level. I could fix things, but I don't want to. Jose says the Space Force is really there to keep all of us Bitcoiners who are going to the moon in check. Yes, they're going to make sure that you don't drive your Lamborghini too fast on the surface of the moon. It can cause a dust storm. And Neil deGrasse Tyson was really selling me on the Space Force. He had an impressive argument for it. But again, the one he's talking about is different than the one Trump was talking about. And Trump has been doing a lot of wag the dog lately. Recently, we had all this stuff about the investigation, the guilty pleas, his accountant turning state's evidence. and he comes out with a series of tweets about North Korea. That's right, North Korea. It's literally Wag the Dog out there. So definitely watch the David Mamet movie, Wag the Dog. It's a great movie. Let's see. People can change things. Kumbaya, kumbaya. And yeah, be careful with auto pay. Don't let that happen to you. Double check your important bills. Make sure they don't cancel your services. And if you do get your service canceled, as much as it may be very stressful, you got to be polite and you got to be cool with the people on the phone because they can actually help you. Even when they say they can't, if you tell them your situation and you're honest and you take responsibility, they might be able to help you. I got mine turned around. It was amazing. So, and again, I'm not saying I won anything. I totally screwed it up. I hope I don't screw it up again in the future, but I thank them for being kind and turning back on my service. So, and yeah, it was a big important thing. So, they're talking about the Petro. People are getting Raspberry Pis and making friends. Very cool. Good things are happening in the chat. We're chilling. Jose wants Jose coins, but no one's buying them. Ah, come on, you gotta say so harder. We're doing some Snoop Dogg lyrics down here. Again, now I'm not like, can I quote things? I don't know, but yeah, they're doing because that song is Gin and Juice by Snoop Dogg. So very cool. Snoop Dogg, he might be into crypto. Yeah, he showed up at that Ripple concert, but that's more embarrassing than anything, right? Yeah, I wish we could play music, but we can really never play music because of YouTube. If you play music for like 3 minutes or 30 seconds, they'll take the entire ad revenues for this whole show. And I mean, the ad revenues for the show are probably $10 a show. But still, you want to get that $10. It adds up, kind of. But yeah, let's see what else is going on. Drinking all of my water. Buy money, print weapons. What's the difference between money and currency? Dun dun dun. The best currency is ramen noodles. or cigarettes. Smokes are big popular currency and trade in jail. Jose says he's not calling in, no matter what happens, especially if you have to pay one WCN coin. That's way too much to charge. 5% of wallets hold 95% of Bitcoin. True. That's true. Spaceballs, the exchange. I use Kraken. Kraken seems pretty good. It's just written by space aliens. Kraken has the smallest fonts. It's just generally like the most financial looking exchange. It seems like back end software that someone would write. It's, backed. I like the double K sound. Double K and a T. That's how we should name our exchange. People say they'll record music for the show. Maybe we could play that, but we can't play Rush. Monday's Warrior, Mean Prize. See, I don't even know those lyrics. I've heard it 100 times. Yeah, today's Tom Sawyer. Will Ferrell put Blue Oyster Cult on the map. More cowbell. It's pretty amazing. Christopher Walken, though, really. I mean, I've got a fever. I'm not gonna do it. I can't do Christopher Walken, but he's all like, I got a fever, and the only prescription is more cowbell. It's what I need. That was pretty great. Oh yeah, a little Kerouac from AR Ferguson. He says, "The only people for me are the mad ones, the ones who are mad to live, mad to talk, mad to be saved, desirous of everything at the same time. The ones who never yawn or say a commonplace thing, but burn like fabulous yellow Roman candles, exploding like spiders across the stars. And in the middle, you see the blue center light pop, and everyone goes, ah." But yeah, that was from that Steve Jobs Apple commercial. I'm not even sure if the only ones for me are the mad ones. It seems like a Kerouac thing, though, to me. Yeah, there it is. Bing, yeah. Which again, things that you think Steve Jobs said, really said by Jack Kerouac. Jack Kerouac, the beatniks, the people who had the spirit, who inspired the 60s. If you want to go back to the source and the soul of the 60s, it actually happens with the beatniks of the 50s, who again were looked down upon and not very well liked. Yeah, Death Proof is the least convincing of his movies. Yeah, see, I knew I skipped it for a reason, but still, there's this completeness thing, and out of respect to Tarantino, I need to go back and watch it. But yeah, I just haven't gotten to it yet. And then that means I also have to watch the Robert Rodriguez one, which looked really gory. I've seen a lot of Robert Rodriguez films, but not that many since he went Spy Kids. I liked him back in the El Mariachi Desperado days. He made some good films. And then, of course, Dusk Till Dawn, collaboration between Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez. Great film. Harvey Keitel, George Clooney. Tarantino does some acting. Very good. And Just Etner's got tattoos from his tough times of needles on his arms, but he's very strong. So that's good. They say, as long as Simon Pegg doesn't write it. I didn't mind the Simon Pegg Star Trek. I didn't. I certainly noticed that Scotty got the girl and Scotty wrote the script. I thought that was funny. But I thought Pegg did a nice job. It was kind of silly. It was like it felt more like a big old time Star Trek episode than one of the new crappy movies. So I did kind of like the third Star Trek movie, which apparently did worse in the box office and all that stuff than the one with Khan, where Spock, the emotionless, is beating the crap out of Khan with his fists and seems to have quite a lot of emotions. So, meh. Jose agrees with me. He says, "Backed is a strong exchange. It will destroy all other exchanges. It is Exchange 2.0." And, give it to the Klingons. There it is. So, if money is all you want, money is what you'll get. We need a space force because Bitcoin's going to the moon. And I totally agree with Zach here in the chat. He says, spoken like a true IT guy. And I do completely have an IT type attitude when it comes to Windows and Macs. It's been an absolute joy not to use Windows for the past I don't know, 10 years, maybe 15 years, which is amazing. And of course, I used Windows the 15, 20 years before that. So had quite enough of you, Mr. Bill Gates. The fact that there are still some menus from Windows 95 that you can find in the new Windows if you go down low enough in the menus, that's horrifying. Oh, even people are saying it's over for Trump. Even my chat, which isn't quite well, they're actually kind of supporters of Trump, truth be told. Digital Mining Solutions says the Trump organization's CFO just got immunity and rolled on him. And Charlie LeCamp agrees, saying, I'm sure this time Trump is done for. And it does seem like just this week we've shifted in the conversation. The guilty pleas by Cohen and Manafort have changed the conversation from nothing to impeachment. Impeachment is definitely in the conversation now, and we have to try to understand at its very core, if you really want to go down to it, you cannot pay off women to not talk about you, right? That's illegal. So at its very core, that's what this is going to keep coming back to. And is it disappointing for people who believe that Trump might have committed larger crimes? Certainly, but they got Al Capone on tax evasion. They're going to get Trump on this lying about payments to these women. We already know it. He's already said on the audio tape that he knew about the payments. Then he said on the other tape that he didn't know about the payments. Now he's caught in a lie. And just like Nixon, it's the cover up that's the problem. The lie was bad. The cover up is worse. We're going second level on this. So, yeah, I think it's swirling. It's definitely changed. But once again, with the terrible situation of the House of Representatives, we are seeing no action. So it doesn't look good. We'll see in November. Let's keep going. What's going on? Guest at Nurse says, who in this world, after listening to Thomas Hunt on the regular for 5 years, does not trust Thomas Hunt? And, well, again, just don't trust, verify. I wouldn't even tell you to trust me. You should check other sources. But we do try to be pretty straightforward and honest and tell people. Tomes, Christopher Walken, yeah, they have similar voices. Tarantino's bit of Four Rooms was okay. I agree with that. Four Rooms is all kind of all over the place. His one was the best. It kind of grows on me though. Tim Roth is very likable as the bellhop, and I think at one point I had the screenplay, so I read it, and it reads nice. It reads nice. Wow, Paul Byrne says, "I'm going to give Trump 2 weeks. He will bail out." Whew, that's a quick one. Jose is still going in for the long run. He thinks Trump will run for re-election and survive a second term. Right now, it's looking like if the Democrats win the House of Representatives in November, they get seated in January. The trials will begin right there. So I think it's going to be tough to survive. Just on the very basic core of this truth. All of the other evidence is interesting. All of the other fraud is interesting. But at its core, you can't pay people not to talk about you, right? It's just not going to fly. But we'll see. Pence is next in line. Yes, yes. But think about Gerald Ford. He wasn't a very strong president after he pardoned Nixon. How strong do you think Pence will be after he pardons Trump? So let's see. People are using their phone to watch the YouTube app. They refuse to trust the computer. It is easier on your phone. The caller seems to be reading what he's talking. I don't know about that. But that's fine if people want to prepare notes, if they're nervous to talk on the air. That's cool. This isn't a caller. No, it's not a caller. Um, will he resign before being forced to resign in disgrace? No, Trump doesn't have any dignity, but he does have anger. I think it's the anger that we're appealing to, where he's like, and the same thing with Nixon. Remember, Nixon resigned to hold on to his tapes, right? Nixon would have fought it forever, but they told him if you stay as the president, they've got a good argument for your tapes. If you leave and you're a private citizen, they have a bad argument for your tapes. A lot of those tapes came out anyway, except for the 19.5-minute gap or the 8.5-minute gap, whatever it is, the part they deleted. We still don't know what's on there. The Oliver Stone movie, Nixon attempts to say what was on there. He believes it had to do with the JFK and RFK situations. Nobody knows. But Nixon did go down, so eventually. Let's see. Charlie says, Thomas is letting his left-wing politics color his interpretation of the world. Get real. Trump isn't going anywhere. I'm not so sure about that. It's getting tighter and tighter and tighter, and I'm not sure how many weeks like the last week he can take. Remember, we have had 2 guilty pleas now, and he is an unnamed co-conspirator in the Michael Cohen situation. Michael Cohen says he was directed by the candidates to make the payments to the women. Trump says on the tape that he knows about the payments. He says maybe we should pay in cash. He's clearly shaping and commanding the payments, which backs up Michael Cohen's story. Trump also says the opposite on Air Force One. He said he didn't know about the payments. So now you have a client that is lying at the very least. And then it becomes, do you think he knew about it? What's the jury going to think? We're going to have to see how it is. But let's see what's going on. You can pay people not to talk about you. Yeah, not in an election. When you pay someone for something in an election, like the way that the National Enquirer was used to shut down stories, that's called a campaign contribution or an in-kind campaign contribution. And what we learned from the accountant so far is that the campaign contribution was listed as legal expenses. So that's improper accounting, and that's a crime. So it doesn't really matter. It's kind of black and white. It doesn't matter what you say or what I say, what anybody says. These things are clearly crimes. So it's going to happen. Just give it some time. Let's see. Yeah, he better remove the taping of the Oval Office. Yeah, that was pretty strange. Jose says Trump did nothing wrong in the eyes of the law, except for campaign finance law. He broke campaign finance law, which is still a real law. So Obama reading the teleprompter is more fluid than this guy. Okay. Trump is part Nixon, part Clinton. He's a slick trick daddy. That's true. Jose is a fan of justice and truth. He wants to see how far they'll take this thing. Trump is playing everyone. Don't you guys remember? He's Hollywood. You're fired. And AR Ferguson agrees with me. He says, they got Capone on the taxes. They'll get Trump on the paperwork. So we'll see how it goes. But everyone's got their own opinion to this, and it's very cool. Politicians are professional psychos that'll lie to their own granny. Ooh. And then, yeah, Digital Mining Solution is saying, yeah, there's a theme here. Trump gets caught and he falls back on, well, it's not a crime. And that has been the thing. First, it was we didn't talk to any Russians. Then it was we talked about the Russians to adoption. Then it was there's no collusion. Now it is collusion's not a crime. So it's just dripping back. Here we go. Paul's drifting us back to the topic. He says, if Trump goes, will it affect Bitcoin? Right now, Trump is already affecting Bitcoin with his trade war, with his anti-internationalist stance, with his nationalist stay home, America first attitude. So that's been helping Bitcoin by hurting the US dollar and hurting global stability. So if Trump does go, it would be presumably a more stable world. Pence is certainly a piece of work, but he doesn't spout off on Twitter all day. He doesn't fix fights, or he doesn't pick fights with the North Korean dictator on Twitter. So in that way, the world will be different and presumably more stable with Trump out of office. So bad for Bitcoin, actually, because while Trump is creating chaos, it's good for Bitcoin. So brand Bitcoin is unfortunately also brand chaos. But remember, chaos is bad for normal people. Zach says, victorious warriors win first and then go to war, while defeated warriors go to war first and then seek to win. Very good advice from Sun Tzu. And they say in the chat, is McAfee still planning to run? I think McAfee ran last time, got a fair amount of attention about it, but he didn't get the Libertarian nomination or any other major party. I don't know if he's planning to run again. The main thing I know is something Bitcoin needs to be $1 million in 2020, or McAfee has to eat his own dick. So I've heard that story quite a lot, and he's backing it up. So congrats. I hope it goes well for Mr. McAfee. I hope he doesn't have to do that. But I think we're running out of time here on Bitcoin Talk Show. I've talked myself out, but it's a Saturday morning. I hope you guys are having a good morning. Have lots of things to check out right here on the World Crypto Network. Be sure to subscribe down below and check out some of the other interviews that we have right here on the World Crypto Network. You can donate to the QR codes on your screen. Otherwise, I think that's going to be about it for today. Until next time, bye-bye.